Hello and welcome to Bridging the Gap. I'm your host, Todd Johnson. We have two very special guests with us today from Northwest Victim Services. We have Melanie to my far left, who is the executive director, and Pat, who is the president of the board. And so, ladies, welcome to the show today.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Without any further ado, I want to jump right into it. You can feel free to play tag team with me if you'd like. But first, I want to know, when did Northwest Victim Services, when did you guys start? And what was the impetus of you starting your organization?
Well, in 1981, Interfaith began, and that was the first victim agency within the city of Philadelphia. Then 1986, Northwest Victim Services became incorporated. So we are the very first victim agency within the Northwest section of Philadelphia and within Philadelphia as a whole. And then there were 6 other agencies that were born, so it's a total of 7 of us throughout the city of Philadelphia.
And have you ladies been affiliated with them since their inception, or did you come on board later?
No, we're both relatively new. This season, this 2013-14 season, I became president of the board, and Melanie was named executive director at about the same time.
Wow.
For June. Now, my mother was a volunteer in the 80s, and then she sat on the board, then became the board president, and then the executive director. And so I've been volunteering since about high school.
Wow. So that was about, what, maybe 10, 15 years ago, right?
Yeah, we'll say about 10, 15 years ago. Yeah, that's what we'll say.
I have 3 older sisters, so I know what to say. When
Yeah,
it comes
that's
to
right.
Exactly, that's good.
Yeah, but my question is, okay, Northwest Victim Services came as a result. Was there a need, and specifically the Northwest community? Is that what led to you guys establishing yourselves, or was it out of some other need that the community, or how did that transpire into what you have now?
Right.
Well, I think that the victims felt that they didn't have a voice. So that's why the victim services the agencies were born, because they didn't feel as though that they had help navigating through the court systems, or what do they do, or who do they talk to? So that's why the agencies were born.
Right. And again, there's more than Northwest Victim Services. We're one of a number of services around the city. But it is about advocacy and helping these people kind of navigate their way through the court system, finding the assistance they need. Sometimes it's financial assistance, emotional assistance, and just education to kind of help people understand what their rights are.
Well, I kind of cheated because I went on your website and kind of did some homework to find out, about you guys and what you provide, what services you provide. One of the things I was reading one of the things that kind of jumped out at me is the Northwest Victim Services. You actually do advocacy for people who have been abused or are in an abusive relationship. Could you kind of walk us through that process? Somebody who's in an abusive relationship, they want to get help, they turn to Northwest Victim Services. First of all, how do they hear about you guys? Is it word of mouth? Is it, are you guys listed in the Yellow Pages? How do they go about seeking out you guys?
Well, anytime there's a crime, the first thing we instruct anybody to do is to call 911. So once they call the police department, so we deal with 4 police districts, the 5th, 14th, 35th, and 39th. They're all in the Northwest section. So the police officer will go out, attend to the victim, and they automatically give them our information.
Okay.
Once they give them our information, they can call us. But then the next day or the day after, we get every report of every crime that happened in our sections. So then we in turn send them information.
Okay.
So it's referral and outreach.
Exactly. So that's how they hear about us. And unfortunately, sometimes they don't reach out to us because they're not aware of who we are. So they don't utilize our services. So, and depending on what crime it is, then that's when we're advocating for the victim. What can we do, whether it's medical bills, did you miss any days from work? But there are financial requirements that need to be met, but we have wonderful victim advocates that walk them through the whole process and filing their claim. And then we have a wonderful court advocate who goes to court. So we're in the CJC Center 3 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. So we're there with the victims in court because that's a trying experience.
I would imagine so. Having that kind of background and the exposure you get dealing with your client services, has there ever been a time when you kind of sat back and said to yourself, wow, this is overwhelming, or are there times when you sit back and say, hey, you know, I really made a difference in someone's life?
For me, and again, I'm relatively new to the organization, it's nothing but uplifting. If you can actually make someone's experience after having gone through an experience of being a victim of crime, the one thing you want to do is to allay their fears, and you want to kind of help them kind of get back to normal. We always kind of say from victim to victory. So I think we have so many people who are so skilled. Melanie is really at the top level really of her game, but also the people in our offices are skilled at knowing, you know, how to kind of navigate and get people through the system so that they can, you know, really move on and start to turn the corner with their lives.
Now, having said that, are most of the people in your organization, are they people who have been victims of abuse themselves, or did they just come in because somebody word of mouth? How does that work?
They weren't victims. One of the victim advocates, she actually sat on the board for a little while. The other victim advocate, she was in the educational field and she was looking for a career change.
Wow.
And the actual court advocate, she was in corporate America. So, and then she came our way.
So people come from varied walks of life.
They do.
Absolutely,
Okay.
it's very varied, and that's true of the board as well. I mean, we are really from pretty much all walks of life. We have attorneys on the board, we have people who have in business like myself. So it really, I think that's kind of what makes the organization so great, because we do approach the problems kind of with our own lens. And it's not, you know, it's great to have people who may have been victims of abuse, but it's also good to have people who can kind of see, you know, another side of it and bring that perspective.
The board in which you serve is a diversified board?
Right, there are 7 members. We're small and actually looking to grow, but yeah, it is fairly diverse in terms of people who have been there on the board a number of years. I'm relatively new, but the various backgrounds and education levels that we have are varied. So I think, you know, we really mix it up, and it's a good exchange whenever we're together. So it really, I think, helps the organization, again, kind of see things not from just one point of view, but from a variety of perspectives.
Now, Melanie, I had a question. Your ascension from volunteer to executive director, that must have been a very transformative period in your life. Could you kind of share with us that journey from volunteer as high school age?
High school.
Right, to where you are now, executive director?
I would volunteer with my mother, Patricia Payne, who was the executive director. So I would work on fundraising events, which was, you know, awesome. So I love interacting with the residents, with the business owners, and with the victims. So it was a wonderful experience. So my mother resigned in 2011. And then Donna Hall became the executive director. So then I was appointed the president of the board, which was wonderful. So then I was able to get my feet wet a little bit more and, you know, work very closely with the executive director. So once Donna resigned, that's when I applied for the position. But, you know, the love that I have for what I do is enormous. So I'm working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but it doesn't feel like work.
Right.
So I love what I do, and I love helping people, and I love interacting with the community partners.
So you would look at what you do not as a job, but as a sort of like a ministry.
It's a ministry and it's a career. So when I would do career days with the NCCY with Dwight Evans, I would always tell them, let me tell you about my job, and now let me tell you about my career. So the kids couldn't understand. I said, my job is where I get paid to do what I have to do. My career is what I love, and I don't even get paid to do it. So this is when I was volunteering. So, you know, I was blessed.
And Pat, I had a quick question. How did you ascend to president board in such a short period of time? Were you just so loving and affirming and welcoming to people?
That's what it was.
Yeah, I just, there was a glow about me. But I had known about the organization, obviously, through Melanie and through her mom. And for me, I sit on a couple of other boards. For me, it's just a great way to kind of break away from kind of the business world and the corporate world. I'm involved sort of in the dance theater world in one of the boards that I serve on. But to actually be able to do some good, I mean, not that in the business world we don't provide, you know, good services and good products, but to actually see the good and do things for people that really, really do need it. You know, that's, again, as Melanie says, that's kind of, you know, everybody's calling. You really want to make a difference, and so this allows me to do just that.
So both of you ladies, I'm sure you find a lot of reward in what you do. When we come back, I want to talk about some of those rewards, both personal and professional, that you've probably experienced in your work. So as soon as we come back from a little break, I want to ask both of you ladies, kind of delve into, you know, what through that process in your mind and where you are now as it relates to your agency. So please don't go away. We'll be right back. You stay tuned.
Mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at 58 years old.
For me, it was heart-wrenching.
It takes a toll on everyone. I mean, it's a depressing disease to watch unfold before your eyes.
You just don't see the person's soul is like gone.
This disease just ravages a family.
It changes your life.
The magnitude of it is indescribable.
Now is the moment. If we work together, we can stop this epidemic.
Contact Bright Focus and learn more.
A promise was made, a promise that hit the beaches of Normandy, a vow that captured Iwo Jima, a contract that weathered Tet, a pledge that stormed the desert in Iraq, an IOU that braved IEDs in Kandahar. A promise was made to America's veterans. DAV fights to keep that promise, so all veterans and their families get the benefits and support they earned. For help, visit DAV.org.
Something's not right.
My first symptoms were
constant tingling in my toes.
Double vision. They said you have multiple sclerosis.
Kind of had to get a grasp on reality.
I had to adapt and change very rapidly.
I had to learn how to drive with my hands. Yeah, that was interesting.
A symptom may cause you not to be able to do that anymore. And at one point, I wasn't able to do any of those.
Since I've been cycling, it's definitely helped my walking.
It's a fantastic opportunity to be working together with a common goal of curing MS, and sharing is the key.
Introducing a new day of the week, Someday. Now, everything you were going to do someday is on the calendar. Want to retire someday? You'll really want this.
A My Social Security account at socialsecurity.gov. You can estimate your future benefits and manage current benefits online. Millions of people have a My Social Security account. Get yours today, because someday is here at socialsecurity.gov.
Hello and welcome back to Bridging the Gap. I'm your host, Ty Johnson, and today we're talking to two very vivacious ladies from the Northwest Victim Services. Ladies, welcome again to the program.
Thank
Pat
you.
and Melanie.
Yes.
Melanie and Pat, I had questions for you that I was kind of holding back on, but now I'm going to take the gloves off. Because I know sometimes we talk about working with people in your capacity, people who have already been victimized. But do you have any proactive programs or initiatives where you try to get ahead of the person before they become a victim?
Absolutely.
You want to share that with us?
Yes, absolutely. One of the things we've just done is to complete a 5-year strategic plan. And as an organization, we feel we're in a good place, but of course we want to grow and we want to do an even better job of providing services to the Northwest community. And part of that involves becoming much more of a force, if you will, before crime actually happens. And two targets that we think are, two audiences we think are most vulnerable are school-age children as well as seniors. And so within our Northwest region, we are developing programs to really address what happens in both of those, with both of those audiences, so that we can really make sure that they're doing all that they can do in partnership with us, but also on their own, to make sure that they are protecting themselves from crime. In the case of school-aged children, Melanie's done a great job of beginning to get into the schools and provide information on bullying and anything that really has to do with keeping kids safe in that environment, because of all places, that's where kids should really feel the safest. Right. We've actually had to provide services for some of the recent school shootings in the Northwest area, so she's become very familiar with the names and faces there, so I think we have a good opportunity to begin building those bridges with that group. In the case of seniors, again, in the Northwest area, believe it or not, we're probably up-aged in terms of the average age within Philadelphia. And we stretch from Chestnut Hill to Germantown to Manayunk, Roxborough. So the senior centers, if you will, the churches are places where we're going to be becoming very involved with giving speeches and providing literature and any information we can to try to get individuals to protect themselves.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'll be watching you guys to see how you progress in that way, because we don't want people to become victims.
Absolutely.
They don't have to become.
That's right.
Now I know we were talking about initiatives. You also have a 5K walk, or is that?
Yes, we're having a 5K walk. It's actually going to be on April the 25th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's going to be at Fairmount Park, Boxers Trail. So Northwest Victim Services and North Central Victim Services is partnering to put this 5K walk on. So this will be the first time ever any victim agency has had a walk. And the theme is one step for change. So we're just asking people to come out and take that one step to make a difference in somebody's life. It only takes one person to make a huge impact in somebody's life. So we're looking for sponsors right now. Okay. Our goal is to raise about $100,000. And all of our services to victims are free. So they don't pay for anything. And every money, any money that we raise will go right back into the organization to offer free services to the victims.
Now, if somebody wanted to follow you guys or to make a donation, what is your website address? So
it's northwestvictimservices.org. We're also on Facebook. They can look me up, Melanie Nelson, which is Melany. We're on Twitter, which is NWVS. So they can look us up that way.
And is there a phone number they can call?
Sure, 215-438-4410.
Okay.
Beyond that, we're always looking for anyone who would like to volunteer. Again, the more manpower, person power that we have at our disposal, the more that we're able to do. As I said, we have a wonderful, dedicated staff. The board is very involved, but there's nothing like arms and legs, because I think, Melanie, just in her short tenure, has shown that by getting out and about in the community is the best way to get awareness of what we do. People who don't even know about us, you kind of want to know about that before you're in the moment of need. So she's been very good about that. But any groups that want to volunteer or kind of give us a lending hand, we have help certainly from LaSalle. It's been terrific with public relations, but we need just any number of avenues that can really help us with getting literature out. Making phone calls, helping inside the office would be, right up our alley.
Well, somebody who might be viewing this show, what would you say to them, Melanie, if they're on the cusp of saying, I don't know if I want to volunteer? What would you say to encourage them?
I would say that it would be a great opportunity for any psychology major, which would be great, criminal justice, communication, all walks of life. It would be great for them to come and get that firsthand experience, whether it be in the office or in the courtroom or when we're doing community service. It would be great. Like Pat said, we have wonderful LaSalle interns, and we're actually working with the LaSalle team to help us with the 5K walk. So, we welcome.
How about our neighbors who might be watching, sitting at home watching this? What would you say to the the residents who are viewing this program? How would you encourage them?
Again, it takes one person to make a major change. So we encourage the residents to come out as well. You know, when I was growing up, the whole neighborhood took a part in raising a child.
That's
you know what I
right.
mean? Now nobody wants to say anything. Nobody wants to help anybody. So the residents, we encourage that more than anything because we want our students to be safe and we want our seniors to be safe. The residents, you know, as a whole, but right now we need to look out for the students and we need to look out for the seniors. So we welcome the residents.
And sometimes people feel if there's an organization in back of them, because if you're kind of in your house by yourself, maybe even if you're a senior, you say, gosh, I don't want to get out, I don't want to get involved, I don't want to say anything. I saw that guy, but maybe I better not get involved. Well, maybe you yourself are just one voice, but if you kind of get a hold of our organization, then maybe we can kind of give you sort of the wind, if you will, in your sails to kind of say, you know, this is what I saw. You know, I think in my neighborhood we could use X, Y, and Z. That would only help us to understand what we can do to kind of make the neighborhoods even safer.
And to that point, have you seen a reduction in the Northwest Philadelphia community in terms of crimes or victims? Do you all track annually?
We track. There has been a reduction as a whole, but it's still high. You know what I mean? But yeah, we track what the statistics are as far as the crime. So it's been a reduction from last year, but it's still high.
And that's citywide, but I will say, you know, again, we were able to, what was it, over 3,000 individuals were served by Northwest Victim Services.
We serviced 3,179 of our last fiscal year, 2013 to 2014. And again, that's for the people who reached out to us.
Right.
So there's many more who didn't utilize our services that are in need of our services.
What might be a reason a person doesn't reach out?
They're not familiar with our organization.
So that comes with doing your PR and marketing.
Awareness building, absolutely. And sometimes, you know, you're just casting about. You know, you don't know where to turn when a situation like that occurs.
When a person finds themselves in need, when the emergency is right upon them, I guess sometimes they're not always thinking about, you know, who do I contact?
Right.
So it probably, what you're doing, Melanie, by getting the word out in the community is probably very, very proactive.
Yes.
And have a long-term effect. You know.
And to be sure, we rely so heavily upon the police and fire departments to really do the referrals for us, the emergency rooms. So again, that partnership on that side is one that we really need to maintain kind of a strong base with. But the more awareness there is among individuals as well as organizations, the more that we can, you know, provide services and grow, because again, we can't do everything with a 7-member board and what about 5 people in the office. So, so again, by raising money, that just allows us to grow and to do more for the people that really need it.
Now, I wanted to jump back for just a second to the volunteer base. Your volunteers, I would assume that's a very important component.
Very.
Right.
Somebody who's viewing this program, again, I want to hammer this home, who's watching this, they don't have to live in the Northwest area to volunteer, because as you said, you have 6 or 7 other places around the city.
Right.
But you would encourage them to get involved.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it would be great for them to get involved. And Pat was speaking about different partnerships. So the NCCY, I don't know if you're familiar with them, and that's the Northwest Community Coalition for Youth. So I partner with them, and Northwest Victim Services is actually a safe haven. So if there's any children who's walking and they don't feel safe, they can come to Northwest. But there are so many different safe havens under the NCCY, so we all partner. You know what I mean?
Right.
So those volunteers may volunteer for Northwest Victim Services, and then we have Tabor Northern Community Partners. So whenever I go to their events, I network for Northwest Victim Services. So we get volunteers from all walks and all different organizations, so we all partner together because our missions intertwine. You know what I mean? It's all for the safety of the residents.
Right.
And where are you guys located? Because I know you gave out the social media information.
Right.
But where you guys?
Right on Germantown Avenue, 6301 Germantown Avenue, on the second floor, right at the corner of Washington Lane and Germantown Avenue.
I know exactly where that is.
So easy to find. Yeah.
There should be a place right there on the corner that sold paper products.
Still there?
It's still there. It's
Comer.
right across the street.
Yes.
Yeah.
Give a plug for the local paper company.
Comer, yes, they saved me from many birthdays.
Okay,
But,
they're still there.
Yeah. So again, but I'm sitting here and saying to myself, I hope someone who's viewing this will volunteer, or many volunteers might come as a result.
We hope.
You know,
Right.
because it sounds like the work that you ladies are involved in is just tremendous. So I want to say, from a personal standpoint, I really admire the work that you do and the
It's a labor of
community that
love,
you
and
serve.
these guys,
thank you.
they do all the heavy lifting, so thank you.
I call guys like you in the community unsung heroes.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, because you know, you're not Oprah and Beyonce and all
That's
that,
right.
but the work that you do, the legacy that you leave will far outlast, you know, what song is popular today. You know? So I appreciate both you ladies.
Thank you very
much. And I consider you to be champions in the community. So please continue to do the good work that you are doing.
Thanks so much.
Northwest Victim Services
Yes.
is a place that, from what I've read and what I've gone online and seen, is a place for everybody in the community to get involved.
Yes.
You know, whether they're a victim of crime and have, you know, been referred to you, or whether it's somebody watching at home who wants to get involved and volunteer with something. So, ladies, I want to thank you both for being on the show.
Great.
Again, I'm Todd Johnson, your host. When one's on the right, another's on the left. When we reach towards the middle, we begin to bridge the gap. Until next time, love somebody and be nice to everybody. Bye for now.